Hello and welcome back to Double A Sports. My name is Aiden Hammond,
And I'm Aditya.
and today we have an episode to talk mostly about the Atlanta Hawks.
Yes. We're a little late to the news. This happened last week, but Trae Young has been traded away from the Atlanta Hawks to the Washington Wizards for CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert.
Yeah, do you first of all, um, initial thoughts on this?
Initially, I was like, what the hell just happened? Trae Young was just salary dumped to NBA purgatory um, for any notable NBA player. Because like that's crazy, right? Like this is a multiple
Yeah,
time All Star. Like I know it was a few years ago, but took his team to the conference finals. Like he's been the face of this franchise for the last 7 years, and he was just traded for an expiring contract and a role player. And like no picks. That was the
right.
crazy thing for me when I saw this is like you couldn't get any picks. Like obviously you're not getting the Wizards first this year, but like no picks, future first,
Yeah,
second rounders, anything. No young player. They got a million of them. You couldn't get one of them.
yeah, I had a similar thought process with this trade, which was like Trae Young must be worth nothing
Yeah.
because Desmond Bain was just traded for four first round picks this last summer.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of my benchmark now where I'm like, okay, depending on the circumstances, a player like Desmond Bain can still get four first round picks in the modern NBA.
Mm-hmm. And I get Trey Young. You're trading him at probably the bottom of his value is the lowest it's
Right.
ever been. But yeah, when you put it into like Desmond Bain is like a he could be an all star if the circumstances were right once or twice, you know. But like Trey Young has been an all star several times, and he's averaging
Right.
he's averaged like 26 and 10 for the last 4 years, and
Eastern
like
Conference Finals
yeah, like so that was
as
crazy
the
to
best
me.
player.
Yeah, and like he has his deficiencies. We're not gonna like he's the worst defender in the NBA, kind of by far. Bless you.
Right.
And his shooting splits haven't been amazing the last like 2 years. There's this team they've won more games without him than with him. So like I get it. He's at the bottom of his value. You're not going to get four first round picks for Trae Young at this point, especially not from the
Right.
Wizards because their picks are just inherently more valuable. But like none, zero.
Right. Yeah, it to me it seems like a move by Atlanta where they are admitting that they simply are better off without Trae Young, which is
Yeah,
fine. Trae Young is still worth at least a first round pick as a asset right now. Like
right.
I don't care how much money he's making. So the fact that they couldn't get that, I feel like Washington kind of made out really well.
Yeah.
I
I mean, again, and I mean, they didn't really lose anything. Corey Kispert, he
no.
was a good role player. Sure, he's a good shooter. But like CJ McCollum's an expiring contract. He's 30 some years old, and he's one of the few guys on your team that can like he can win you a game or two. You know, he's
Right.
older, but he's still a good player. Like, I don't know. That's my thing is this team has like 10 guys that are 23 and under, and they didn't have to give up any of them.
Right. Yeah, that's the other thing. If you're not going to give up any picks, you should probably have to give up one of like the 12 young players that you have
Hmm.
that are solid.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason why Keyshawn George shouldn't have been in this trade.
Yeah, Kaishan George or Bilal or even like Cam Whitmore. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's just we just got news that earlier today he's out for the rest of the season with a blood clot. So not Cam Whitmore, but like
Right.
again, any like it doesn't. I'm not saying you got to give up like Alex R or something. You know what I mean? But like
No.
somebody, Trey Johnson, maybe not Trey Johnson even. He's been damn good, but like somebody. And that kind of brings me to I guess kind of what I was wanting to talk about with this discussion because like the trade is what it is. It kind of feels like the most nothing burger star trade we've had in a while, where like no one really cares about the actual trade anymore.
Yeah,
But like I've seen some stuff kind of going around on like YouTube and Instagram and like the general NBA discourse about like the kind of death of or just the general like trending downwardness of the small guard in the NBA over like the last few
yeah,
years as the games become more positionless and you have a guy that's 6'10" bringing the ball up and running your offense and you have a center leading the league in assists and whatever. Like historically the small guard has always been fast, shifty, good at ball handling and playmaking and setting up your offense. But now you got guy like Cade Cunningham is 6'8" and he's doing that just fine. Tyrese Halliburton's 6'6" and
right.
he's the best playmaker in the NBA, one of the best playmakers in the NBA. I guess I'm a little biased, but like, um, yeah, like 10 years ago, some of the best players in the league, yeah, like Steph Curry, Chris Paul, Damian Lillard, Kyrie Irving, Isaiah Thomas, like short guards that were, and even before that, like Derrick Rose won an MVP, John Wall in his prime. But like it just seems like now with positionless basketball that these guys that are short and can't defend anything just don't really hold much value. And like you see that with John Morant being on the trade block. Most like Jalen Brunson, I guess, is an exception. Tyrese Maxey's an exception, even though he's like a little bit taller. But like you're just like Darius
But
Garland,
even
Donovan Mitchell, like they're not. Donovan Mitchell is still great, but the Cavs are like 500 or like a few games over 500.
but even Jalen Brunson, is he really an exception? Because like I don't think anybody, much as people don't want to admit it, because Becky Hammon got so like crucified for saying it, but the Knicks are never going to win a championship with Jalen Brunson as a player. It's as simple as that. He is a very good basketball player who is 6'1". And I would I generally agree with you that it's fallen off in the last 10 years. I would also take it further than that and argue that guards under 6'2" have basically never been the best player on a championship team. You look at like you can really go through the list. It's like Isaiah Thomas and Jerry West, and that's kind of it.
And Steph
You
Curry,
go
or I
through
guess he's 6'3", but
Steph Curry's 6'3", and you go through the list of like Finals MVPs and League MVPs, and there's always a smaller guy in the voting process, especially for league MVP. Like I can think of John Stockton throughout the '90s, Isaiah Thomas throughout the '80s. But
and Isaiah Thomas in 2017.
or yeah, but even with that, it's like Chris Paul's really the only old guard type of point guard, which is like a pass first guy. Like Chris Paul is a pretty decent shooter, but he never got like a 40% 3-point shot consistently like
He
Steph
also just
Curry.
didn't
And
take that at that high of a clip.
right, and like is expected now, if you're going to be a guard 6'3" or under, you have to have that 40% 3-point shot, or else
Right.
you are playing yourself off the floor with your size.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a kind of mix of like the analytical trends just moving forward and being like, we don't really need to roster shorter basketball players because we can get pretty effective play out of like the tall guys, and the stuff
Yeah.
that the short guys can't do, the tall guys can do, and the stuff the short guys can do well, the tall guys can be trained to do well.
Yeah. And I think also too, like with how spaced out the game has become, it's like I think we both have vocalized on this show before that like perimeter defense is really not that important in the grand scheme of things. Like when you're building an elite defense,
Right.
you're prioritizing the paint. But like even those older guys, like Chris Paul was one of the best defensive guards ever. John Stockton leads the league or leads the NBA in steals all time. Like if you're gonna be a shorter guard, you had to at least be a competent defender. And like you're
Right.
getting to like Trae Young is the worst like by far the worst defender in the NBA. And like when you're that much of a liability, you have to make up for that on offense. And as great as 25 and 10 is, when you're doing it on, 42, 35 splits with 5 turnovers a game, you're just not making up for that
Right.
liability enough. Like you'd have like Isaiah Thomas that one season in Boston was averaging 30, and like he could do it, I guess. Like Jalen Brunson now, as much as I don't think the Knicks can win a championship with him as their best player, um, he can be the best player on a high seeding team that wins a lot of games, but he's averaging like
Right.
30 points and 7 assists on really good efficiency for a shorter guard. Like Tyrese Maxey's averaging like 30. Like you kind of have to you if you're gonna be short, especially now with the way the NBA is trending, where even if you are playing point guard, you're matching up against 6'6" Tyrese Halliburton, 6'8" Cade Cunningham. Jason Tatum's bringing the ball up for Boston. Like you know,
Right.
when you're matching up against those bigger guards, what are you gonna do? Like,
That's the other thing is like Atlanta was emboldened to make this move because their best player right now is a like 6'9" point forward
yeah,
who does all of the things that Trae Young can do, but is also 6'9",
hmm
or does most of the things Trae Young can do. I'm not sure he can shoot from 40 feet, but that was always
but
kind of
also,
more of a novelty than it was
yeah, if you're
something
shooting
that was
30,
actually really used.
if you're shooting 35% from three on 9 attempts, is it really that useful to the team?
Right.
So yeah, that I think we're gonna see that trend continue, where like we're not gonna see a Kyrie Irving build player go number one overall for a long time, right? Like
Yeah.
John Wall type build not go number one. John Morant went number two a few years ago, but even then, that's like if you're building a team right now, why would you take that archetype?
Well, and the thing with John Moran as a prospect was like he has generational athleticism guard that size, and he was like a 31% 3-point shooter in college, and people assumed that with NBA coaching that would change,
Yeah,
and
it
it
did
kind
for
of
like
never
half a
really improved
season.
that much. It kind of did, but I don't remember him ever being much better than like a 38% guy. Like,
No,
did he
I
ever
think
have a season shooting more than 40?
no. At his best, he was league average, but like he was league average for a season, and the Grizzlies were like the 2 seed. So
Right,
like even then, like he didn't have to be a Steph Curry. He was just he was respectable, and that was enough for a while. And then he kept getting hurt, and then had problems with the Grizzlies, and now he's shooting like I don't know 30% from three again, and look what's
right.
happening. But yeah, it is a trend uh, that I think we're going to see continue. But that being said, I kind of wanted to talk about the futures of these teams because I saw a report that Trae Young is still recovering from his knee injuries, and it's possible that the Wizards are going to be super, super careful with him, and he might not play this season, which I think is code for we suck, we want a high draft pick. We're just going to
I
stash him
would
until next year.
absolutely agree.
But like also, I think that's risky because Trae Young has a player option for next year, which for like $50 million, which he's obviously going to take. But then he's a free agent, and they still got to. I guess you could let him walk, but why would you trade for him at that point? They still got to work on his extension. Um,
Right.
and I guess with the general discussion we just had about the future of short defensive liability guards in the league, like I don't view Trae Young right now at his current stock, which again we're taking him at his lowest stock ever. Like he could play for the Wizards next season and just be perfect in what they need, and the young core just grows so much with him. But at
Right.
this point, he's not that. Um, but like we're also in an era where if you're a star caliber player, a team is going to give you a max. But with the second apron,
Right.
that could also change. Like there's a lot of change going on right now. So like what do you think about like do you think the Wizards give him a max contract?
I think it all depends on next year, but I kind of think yes, because I look at the Eastern Conference next year, and I look at Trae Young plus Alex Sarr plus, whoever they get. Let's say it's Debanza, and I think that's a playoff team next year, at least a play-in team. And this is a team full of guys that are like Trae Young is now the veteran leader,
Yeah.
which could be a problem, but also could be exactly what he needed with
Mm-hmm.
like in terms of a change of scenery.
Right.
Um, so I don't know. I think this is one of those trades where it's not really a win or a lose for either team right now because Trae Young isn't playing and CJ McCollum is the best piece that the Hawks got. But I do think that there's a legitimate chance we look at this in, you know, 8 months with or maybe or a year when we're at this same point next year and we say like, all right, that was the right move for the Wizards to make at that time. They bought low on a player with a pretty that can elevate your team's ceiling for sure.
Yeah.
And we paired him up with Alex Sarr and we put him with, the first or second overall pick who I think all three of the top guys are looking like they're going to come in and make an impact immediately. So I don't think it really matters who they get. But
Top three being Darren Peterson, AJ, and Cam Boozer.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that this could be a really good move for Washington. And if Trae Young does like stink, then you bought low. Trade in your guy, give up your pick this year. Like it's just kind of what it is.
Yeah, that's fair. And I guess they don't have to give him his extension this off season. They could wait a little bit into the season if they wanted to,
Right.
theoretically. Um, yeah, and I mean, I guess too, like now that CJ's off the books, Chris Middleton's a free agent this off season, so like they have some money. I don't think Washington is a free agent wonderland, but if you can get some role players, fill out the roster, bring in another like one or two veteran players to mentor your young core, provide some stability for Trae Young. Like, I don't think that's a terrible idea. I know I
Well,
like this coming free agency class is supposed to be like super loaded anyway. So like I don't think you're getting like a star, but yeah.
probably not, but I this does kind of come back to something we were talking about, which is there is a high likelihood that Oklahoma City is going to have to make a tough decision with Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams.
Oh yeah. That's yeah, with the second apron, that's true. If they want to keep
And
some of their role players around.
in order to make a sign and trade work, I remember we talked about Washington as a pretty premier destination for whichever one of those guys you end up moving.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably going to end up being Jalen Johnson just because you get a
Jalen
lot of
Williams, but yeah.
or Jalen Williams, yeah. Just because you get a lot of similar stuff out of a lot of your bench guys and the defensive production and the kind of versatility Chet Holmgren gives you is replaceable, which I, you know, don't disagree with. Um,
But I also do think like because the Thunder have two potentially projected lottery picks this year. If one of them
right.
ends up being like in the upper echelon where you're getting one of those like Cam Boozer or AJ or who's the other forward? I forget his name.
Peterson.
No, he's a guard. I'm
Or,
forward.
oh, Koa Pete.
Yeah, him. Like if you can get one of those forwards, I don't think like I think J Dub is a better player than Chet. So if you can replace Chet, I think
Well, that is where I kind of am not sure because it's like Chet gives you a rarer skill set, but J Dub is the straight up better player right now. So
yeah, that's true
it's tough. But either one of those guys, I think Washington could make the best package for in a sign
for
and
sure.
trade without including Sar, without including including um, whoever they get in the top of the draft this year.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I don't know. I think they're a very interesting team to watch. They could be in a position where they're doing this totally right and
Yeah,
are going to make everybody look stupid.
but it is also the Wizards, so that
But
is
it is also the
unlikely.
Wizards.
Now for the Hawks, I know we already kind of talked about this. Like CJ's an expiring contract. This trade was just to get Trae Young off the books and let the rest of the guys who are winning games ride. But I do want to point out, like again, CJ is off the books this year. Kristaps Porzingis is off the books this year. That's $62 million in cap they just freed up. Obviously, Kristaps being gone will give Onyeka Okongwu a little more opportunity. But again, Atlanta's a nice city. It's not New York or LA or whatever, but I think with $62 million, you can convince some guys to come over there.
Yeah,
um,
for sure.
and I think you kind of have to do that because Atlanta can't really draft all too well. They hit on Jalen Johnson. Onyeka's solid, but like they have a history of missing on a lot of draft picks. So I feel like free agency and trades is the best avenue to go. Which is why I think they should have tried to get a young player or a pick out of this trade because then you could use it as a trading
Yeah.
asset. But regardless, they have a lot of money for next season. They have this team that they've dropped some of their more recent games, but they have some momentum going through the rest of the season. The East is weak enough you can still make a run. Um, so I think the Hawks have a good future.
Yeah. I no, I totally agree with that. We were talking before this about how Anthony Davis kind of in the trade market and one of his uh top destinations according to the reports, which just means like the places where Rich Paul told journalists Anthony Davis wants to live. Among them is Atlanta.
Yeah, I think I saw a report that like Atlanta and Toronto are the two teams with the highest odds to trade for him, which
Yeah,
Atlanta would make sense. I mean, that trade. The problem is we just got a report a few days ago that AD like broke his hand or something, or, like tore a ligament in his hand,
right,
and he initially they thought he'd require season-ending surgery. They got a second opinion where he doesn't necessarily need surgery, but he's still gonna miss, I think, multiple weeks or multiple months. So like that trade instantly becomes a lot harder.
yeah,
And if you're Atlanta too, like again, you didn't really get many assets from this trade. You have assets like Atlanta has some guys that they can trade, some picks that they can trade, but like how much of this team are you really willing to move for? 33 or 34-year-old Anthony Davis that is probably not going to play for you until March. That I don't know. I
right.
think that's a tougher sell at this point.
Yeah, I am kind of wondering if Atlanta will just ride it out at this point this year with the roster they've got, because you know before Trae Young came back, they were like the 3 or the 4 seed.
Yeah,
So you know we might see them go on another solid run. I don't see CJ as a guy that's going to come in and do anything other than get you like 15 points when he plays.
yeah.
So
Well, and even now, like the Hawks are 20-22, and the 5 seed is 22-17. Like they're only a few
right,
games back. Like the East is like the 4 seed in the East is the 8th seed in the West. You can move around quite a bit there.
right.
So it's
Yeah, we're not even at the All Star break yet.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I do think like again at this point I would say this trade is whatever. Like Trae Young was kind of out of Atlanta anyway. It's just a salary dump. But I do think like at the end of next season we could look at this trade and be like, holy shit! Like Atlanta fumbled so hard.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that's all I really have to say about this.
Yeah,
In
that's
other
that's
news,
that's what I got.
one piece of good news to end this episode off with: Nikola Topic of the Oklahoma City Thunder has completed his chemotherapy and will resume basketball activities soon, or he already has. I don't know for sure, but that's good news. Congratulations to him. Cancer free,
Hell
I
yeah.
think, hopefully, fully. So uh, congratulations to the Topich family, if because they're definitely watching this. So,
Yeah, for sure.
but yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I got. It was fairly slow. I mean, we're in kind of the dregs of the NBA season. I've been watching, but
Yeah,
there's not a whole lot to talk about in
you,
terms of like. takeaways right now.
Yeah, we could do our third video about the John Morant trade situation if we wanted to, or
We
whatever.
could.
But I'm thinking next month is All Star break. Around that time, we'll probably do like a standings update kind of thing, like looking at
Yeah.
one our preseason predictions for standings and how they compare, and also just talking about teams that have impressed us and been disappointing and all that stuff. So stay tuned for that. And hopefully I know we haven't uploaded in like a month, but hopefully there are more videos between now and All Star break. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.